This video is made possible by CuriosityStream and Nebula. Watch every BioArc video early and ad-free with additional bonus content on Nebula by signing up with the link in the description. You could say that right now in Israel, there are some things that are happening. Some of them good, some of them bad, some of them very, very bad. Especially if you are a frog. Frogs actually do live in Israel, even though it's incredibly arid for amphibians, but believe it or not, frogs have a remarkably diverse range. Some can even live in deserts and tolerate a lack of rainfall for up to 7 years. Others can be frozen alive, preserving their organs from the frost with high levels of blood glucose that act like antifreeze. Some even live in my backyard. But for those frogs that live in Israel, there's something besides for the weather they need to look out for, and that thing masquerades as their prey. Meet these beetles in the genus Epomus. Both Epomus circumscriptus and Epomus dejiani beetles have a habit of hunting frogs. Well, it's not just a habit. Their larvae are obligate frog eaters. This means that they have to eat frogs or other amphibians or reptiles to survive and grow into adult beetles. These larvae grow into beetles in 3 phases, and during each phase, they catch and nom upon a frog. These little larvae have some big brains. They exploit frogs' natural, well, let's just say simplicity. Frogs do not have the most complex cognitive or visual processing abilities out there. If they see movement, they respond to it in one of either 2 ways. If the thing that's moving is big, they run away or they freeze. And if the thing that's moving is small, they'll try to catch it and eat it. Anyone who's owned a frog can tell you that they seldom eat freeze-dried grubs or crickets, so you've got to deal with keeping dozens of chirping crickets in your house in addition to a frog. Epomus larvae exploit frogs' simple hunting algorithm. They waggle around their antennae and wiggle their jaws and mandibles about to attract any frogs to hop closer to them. Just like how used car dealerships put wacky waving inflatable tube guys outside to attract people. As the frogs approach, the larvae wriggle faster and faster to further entice the frogs into catching them. The way that most frogs catch their prey is simple but effective. They lasso them up with their long, sticky tongues. Frogs have tongues that are about 1/3 of their body length, which would be like if a human could not only lick their nose, but stick their tongue up their nostril, then down their throats and into their stomach. These tongues are fast too, moving at speeds of up to 4 meters per second. This might not be as fast as a bullet or even a bullet train, but it's fast enough to catch a fly or a moth darting past a frog's face in 0.07 seconds flat. Literally at the speed of a blink of an eye, a frog can extend and then retract its tongue into its mouth. Their tongues are actually attached to the front of their mouths, so they unfurl or kind of flop out like when you pull back a doorstop to make that boing sound. This makes the process of wrangling a piece of prey into their mouth quicker than if they had to curl it back into their mouth, like wrapping back up a vacuum cleaner cord. And the quicker they get it into their mouth, the less likely it is the prey will escape. What also helps catch their prey, though, is their incredibly sticky saliva, and it's just plain incredible. It's actually a non-Newtonian fluid, so its viscosity, or its resistance to flow, is not constant. It's specifically what's called a 2-phase viscoelastic fluid. That term may sound like a bunch of scientific Latin-esque gibberish, but it's actually very self-explanatory. It has 2 phases, and it is both viscous and elastic, meaning that it deforms when a force is applied to it, but then it snaps back into its original shape when the force is gone. What makes frog saliva non-Newtonian is that its viscosity depends on how much force is being applied to it. Like the cornstarch and water goop oobleck you might have made as a kid, or if you're like me, last week. So, when there isn't force acting on frog saliva, it's more like a solid, like really thick raw honey. But when force is applied to it, it goes all runny. Its viscosity decreases. Think about if when a bouncy ball hit the ground, part of it melted a little bit, and then when it bounced back up into the air, it returned back to its regular round form. So, when the saliva smacks into a bug, it goes runny, trapping the insect. But then it soon solidifies, like a speed run of the amberification process. Frog tongues are also incredibly soft and pliable, 10 times softer than a human tongue, and comparable to the softness of a rat brain, according to some researchers. I don't know how or why they were poking around rat brains, but if you've ever held rat brains, now you know how soft a frog tongue is too. Anyway, this softness lets the tongue deform around a prey, like when someone gets slimed near a Nickelodeon game show, except if the slime also slurped them up and then ate them afterwards. Softness coupled with stickiness makes adhesion much more effective than just stickiness. It's like how Silly Putty is so effective at cleaning grime out of tiny cracks and grooves. So, the stickiness and softness of the tongue work together to make sure caught bugs don't go flying when the tongue rockets the bug back into its mouth. So, if the saliva is harder and very viscous when the bug is in the mouth, how does the frog then unstick the bug so that it can eat it? We'll return to this question after we cover more of the drama between the frog and Apomus larvae, which is assumingly why you clicked on this video. Remarkably, when a larvae goads a frog to lash out at it with its tongue, it can actually dodge this attack. Remember, the tongue lashes out and back in less than 1/10 of a second. So this is insane dexterity on the part of the larva. This might be because frogs actually close their eyes while they attack with their tongue, most likely to protect their eyes from any struggling prey or any flying gory particulates. After dodging the tongue, the larva will then counterattack, biting its frog foe right in its face, clamping down with its mean, double-hooked jaws. The larva then suckles the fluids out of the frog and then chomps away at its flesh with their mandibles until only bones remain. You might think that gruesome fates often befall frogs since they're so small and seemingly defenseless, but that isn't really the case. They actually have a wide array of defense mechanisms in place that thwarts most predators. At least, larger predators. Their skin might not be thick or armored, but it is slimy. This slime acts like a defense mechanism, making them slippery like soap, which helps them better escape from predators. This is why shady business people are also so slimy. It helps them evade the IRS. Additionally, many frogs have glands on their heads and back that exude distasteful and toxic substances, much like the mouth of James Charles or politicians. Except for, of course, Margaret Thatcher, the least problematic politician and the biggest girl boss of all time. Not a defense mechanism, but as a side note, frogs shed their skin fairly often, every couple of weeks or so, and then they eat it. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, Apomus larvae are incredibly effective and successful frog catchers. In 400 recorded such face-offs, frogs only managed to get Apomus larvae into their mouths on 7 occasions. But that, however, doesn't mean the frogs hopped away victorious or even with their lives. Most of these 7 frogs promptly spat their freshly caught prey out. And it's hard to say why, but maybe it was because the larvae were biting on the frogs' tongues. Regardless, after being spat out, the larvae quickly turned on their would-be eaters and then, in turn, ate them. There was one larva who actually got swallowed. It, however, survived inside of the frog's stomach for hours before the frog inexplicably regurgitated it. The larva, unharmed, then ate the animal that had just eaten it. How was the larva unharmed, though? Well, it's not too surprising because frogs don't actually chew their prey. Some don't even have teeth, and the ones that do have incredibly weak teeth that aren't even used to chew, but instead to hold a piece of prey in place while they swallow it. How frogs swallow is beyond bizarre. They don't really have throat muscles, and so they use their tongue to just shove their meal down their throat. But how exactly do they make their saliva less viscous? Well, they use their eyeballs, of course. Frogs retract their eyeballs into their head a bit, and then the balls press down on the tongue, applying enough force that their saliva goes all runny again, and that releases the food. To be clear, there is a thin membrane between the eyes and the mouth. It's not like the frogs are just raw balling their food to pry it free and shove it down their throat, too. So, that's how the swallowed larva was able to come out unscathed and evolve into the swallower. But even this fate is kinder than what the adult beetles will do to the frogs. Apomus beetles, unlike their larvae, don't feed exclusively on frogs and other amphibians, but they don't exactly shy away from the opportunity either. If they see a frog, they will hop on its back and hold tight like a rodeo clown riding a wildly bucking Mustang. Eventually, the beetle will chomp down into the lower back of its victim, which paralyzes it within a minute or two. And then, the beetle eats its helpless victim alive over the course of an hour, starting from the back and then working up. Sorry, frog, sucks to suck. It's hypothesized that this bite doesn't actually sever any of the frog's nerves, but instead the tendons and ligaments that let the frog hop. Frogs, unless they've been attacked by Apomus beetles, are among the mightiest hoppers in the animal kingdom. With relation to their body size, they're the best hoppers of all vertebrates, and they can leap up to 20 times their body length. That'd be like if a person could jump between home plate and first base in a single leap. The frog with the longest recorded leap could jump about a third of this distance. Sandagie the frog jumped 33.5 feet during a South African frog derby, which is apparently a thing that exists. Striped rocket frogs, the best jumpers relative to their body length, can, as their name suggests, rocket over 2 meters, more than 50 times their body length. That'd be like if a grown man jumped 50 times his height. Why can frogs jump so well? They have several adaptations. Their tibia, fibula, and tarsals are all fused into one long and strong bone, and their metatarsals are elongated, which gives them more time to push off of the ground while jumping. Most of their leg muscles are mechanically dedicated to jumping, with only some scant muscles remaining to return the legs back into jumping position. Much like how crocodiles have insane strength for slamming their jaws shut, but at the same time can be kept from opening their giant jaws up with just some duct tape or even your bare hands. On average, 17% of a frog's total body mass is dedicated to just their main leg muscle. Muscles are important, and if you want to grow your main head muscle, you gotta go and sign up for CuriosityStream and Nebula next, where you can find a slightly longer bonus version of this video with some extra content that would be a little too spicy for YouTube. As you've probably heard by now, Nebula is my own streaming platform created alongside hundreds of other independent educational creators, where we're free to upload more controversial content that would otherwise be demonetized or suppressed by the YouTube algorithm. Every single BioArc video goes up there early before they do on YouTube. None of them have any ads or annoying sponsor reads like this. And there's also tons of good bonus content from your other favorite educational creators too that you won't be able to find on YouTube, like Real Life Lore's Modern Conflict series or Tirzu's Let's Play Outside series. The best way to get access to all of this cool exclusive content is by signing up for the CuriosityStream Nebula bundle deal, which gives you access to both streaming sites for less than $15 a year. And CuriosityStream has some amazing stuff as well, like the Paradise Preserved series, the second episode of which is all about the cloud forests in the Andes and the beautiful little frogs who live there. CuriosityStream has tons and tons of incredible nature and animal documentaries like this for you to choose from, with an entire category dedicated to nature, so if you enjoy my animal content on BioArc, the chances are that you'll also enjoy CuriosityStream's professionally made animal content as well. Getting 2 amazing streaming sites, both with content you'll actually watch for less than $15 a year, has to be one of the best deals you'll find online, so go ahead and sign up for both by following the link down in the description. And as always, thanks for watching BioArc.